Morant with a running start. Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies lost by a lot to the Orlando Magic on Saturday. On this episode, I guess I'm going to talk about the game. Let's get right to it. The Grizzlies lost by 30. They were trailing by 20 after the first quarter. The game was tied 9-9. Then the Magic finished the first quarter on a 24-4 run. The Grizzlies could not generate any good looks at the basket. They had so many turnovers. The 13 points scored in the first quarter, that tied their season low for the fewest points in any quarter. It was their fewest points in a first quarter all season. Then after that first quarter, you're thinking, okay, maybe we got to play better in the second quarter. The Magic scored the first 8 points of the second quarter. So the Grizzlies fell down 41-13, which is basically a college football score. At halftime, it was 58-34. The 34 points in the first half, that is tied for the lowest scoring first half since Taylor Jenkins became head coach. It is their lowest scoring first half of this season. This was the 8th time this year that the Grizzlies have trailed by 20 or more at halftime. That is tied for the second most instances in the NBA. Only the Wizards have trailed by 20 or more at halftime more times. They've done it 10 times. So then at halftime, I assume they were telling the guys, hey, we really got to clean up this offense. Let's play with force in the second half. Let's move with conviction. Everybody win your matchup. Something like that. Well, the Magic started the third quarter on a 21-3 run. After posting their worst first half of the season, they then didn't make a field goal for the first 5.5 minutes of the third quarter. So the Grizzlies fell down by 43 points. At the end of the third quarter, it was 90-55. They had made 18 field goals at that point. They were shooting 31%. They were 12 out of 34 on two-pointers. Basically, that's as bad as you can get. 55 points through three quarters. That's the fewest points the team has scored through three quarters since Taylor Jenkins became head coach in the 2019-2020 season. This was the Grizzlies' 17th game of the year where they lost by 20 or more. That matches the franchise record for most 20-point defeats in a season. It matches the inaugural expansion 1995-96 Vancouver Grizzlies. This was the Grizzlies' 17th game of the year where they shot under 40%. That is still the most games for any team in the NBA this year. The Grizzlies came into this game last in the NBA in points per game, last in field goal percentage, and last in three-point percentage, and they firmly entrenched those leads in this game. Just a miserable, awful game. If you turned it off early, no one blames you. If you didn't watch it at all, no one blames you. I did not watch this game live. I was at a family dinner, and I'll be honest, I forgot the game started at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock Central, the early tip time. Like, I look at my phone at like 6:45, and I'm like, oh, wait, the Grizzlies are playing. Oh, they've already started the game. Oh, they're down by 28. They have 13 points. They have 13 points, and we're like 4 minutes into the second quarter. Couldn't believe the stats I was seeing. I went back and watched it. Thankfully, not live, where I could get through the game in about 50 minutes. And just horrible performances. I mean, you at least had Brandon Clarke play. Maybe Brandon Clarke is the one bright spot from this game. Brandon Clarke in his second game of the season looks pretty good. Scored 13 points, made 6 out of his 9 field goal attempts. Like Luke Kennard returned after he and his wife gave birth. Luke Kennard did not have the new dad bump, really. I mean, he blocked Wendell Carter Jr.'s dunk attempt, so he got to block a Dookie's dunk attempt, so maybe he really enjoyed that, made a couple threes, but he was, typical Luke stuff. Could not escape Caleb Houston off the ball, couldn't generate any open looks for himself. Jaren was sleepwalking. All right. Jaren, I thought, against the Lakers on Friday night, looked checked out. He posted some okay stats in that game. To my eye, and I could be wrong, I thought the effort was so underwhelming. It seemed like Jaren was doing hardly anything. In this game, you could make the argument this was the worst game he's played in like 5 years. I mean, this is tied for the fewest points he scored in a game. He scored 4. His only lower scoring game came in his second season. That's Taylor Jenkins' first year, the 2019-2020 season. He had a scoreless game. This was also the worst single game plus minus Jaren has posted in any game since the 2019-2020 season. Jaren had 4 points on 1 out of 9 field goal attempts and was a minus 34 for the game. It's not Jaren's fault. He got very little help. The Magic, really good defensive team. The Grizzlies, though, couldn't get anything going. They couldn't create any space. Scottie Pippen Jr. got by his guy a few times, but everyone was sagging off of their man to stop Jaren. Jaren was trying to go one-on-one or one-on-2 or one-on-3 a lot. He was turning the ball over, couldn't get shot attempts up. I mean, just a brutal game. It really seemed like his heart wasn't in it. I mean, maybe he's in on it. I'm not sure organizationally they're trying to win that hard. But you would think in some of these games they could put together slightly better efforts. I mean, you had Luke Kennard. You're starting, I guess, Gigi Jackson, Jake LaRavia, not the strongest wings. I mean, some of you think Gigi Jackson is the next great player in the NBA. I mean, Scottie Pippen Jr. has been playing well. He started. I thought this was funny, though. Scottie Pippen Jr. gets in, air quotes, foul trouble in this game. He picks up 2 fouls in the first quarter. It's you're only down by a couple points at that point. I think it's 11-9. He sits out the rest of the first quarter. Everything goes horribly with Jordan Goodwin on the court. Not that it's Jordan Goodwin's fault specifically. I mean, no team is going to have that much trouble guarding these Maujinha Pereira, Jordan Goodwin, Lamar Stevens lineups. But in the second quarter, for whatever reason, I found this hysterical. Scottie Pippen Jr. comes back in, plays a few minutes, picks up his 3rd foul, and you're down 28. You're down 28. Scottie Pippen Jr., who I am guessing based on the fact that he started the game, you consider him to be your best option at point guard. You're down 43-15, and you're like, we got to get Scottie Pippen Jr. out of this game. We're going to need him. We're going to need him down the stretch. No, it's ridiculous. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter. The team briefly took off with Jordan Goodwin when he came in the game. But the idea that hey, we got to get Scottie Pippen Jr. out of this game. 3 fouls. We're down 43-15. Can't have him fouling out in the first half. Deeply hysterical to me. Maybe it's just gallows humor. But really rough game. It was not fun to watch by any stretch. Here's my favorite part. All right. I mean, I already said the bright spot was Brandon Clarke. Brandon Clarke through 2 games has looked fine/good. Seems like it's a positive step for Brandon getting these minutes under his belt. My next favorite part of this game was Gigi Jackson and the 3 assists he got. I'm not making fun of Gigi by just saying 3 assists, but each of the 3 assists he got I thought were really, really good. In the first half, he hit a nice bounce pass to Brandon Clarke for a bucket. So I'm thinking, hey, good job, GG. He did the exact same thing in the third quarter. Brandon Clarke comes in off the bench, almost an exact same play. Bounce pass from GG, assisting Brandon Clarke for a dunk. Thought it was great. And then GG hit Malginha Pereira on an alley-oop on a fast break. So I thought it was some good passes from Gigi Jackson. Outside of those 3 assists, not a lot to be that excited from Gigi Jackson's performance. He only made 2 out of 8 field goal attempts. He did scratch out 11 points. He got to the foul line 6 times, which is a positive. But Gigi, since his 35-point career-high game against the Warriors, he has struggled shooting the basketball. He's only 16 out of 48 from the field in his last 4 games. He's averaging 12.5 points per game while playing 31 minutes per game. He started all of those games. He has made 2 or more threes in 8 straight games, which is the longest streak for any rookie in Grizzlies franchise history. He broke a tie with Juan Carlos Navarro. By the way, if you've watched the Marc Gasol documentary, Juan Carlos Navarro shows up in that one. By the way, you should watch the Marc Gasol documentary that's on Grind City Media's YouTube page. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of interesting things in there that I'd never heard before or never seen before. I don't want to give away the good stuff, but there's like some behind the scenes stuff from like some draft nights that I thought was incredibly interesting. And then of course, all like the talking head interviews are entertaining and informative. And so I think if you're a Grizzlies fan, you will absolutely love watching that program. So I strongly endorse it. But anyways, Gigi erased Juan Carlos Navarro from the Grizzlies franchise record books by having 8 consecutive games with 2 or more made threes. And speaking of made threes, Jordan Goodwin lit it up in garbage time. In the fourth quarter, Jordan Goodwin made 4 3-pointers. That's a career high for Jordan Goodwin. He finished with a double-double. He matched the season high with 16 points. He had 11 rebounds. So he, I don't know. He had a horrible game, I thought, up until then. I mean, he rebounds well all the time, but he racked up some points in that fourth quarter. And also in the fourth quarter, Xavier Simpson made his Grizzlies debut. This was the 5th game of his career. He played on the Thunder a few seasons ago. And by playing in this game, the Grizzlies set a new NBA record for most players used in a season. This was the 31st player to suit up for the Grizzlies this year. That broke a tie they had with this year's Detroit Pistons. So gauntlet has been thrown down, Detroit. You have 2 weeks left to try to match or overtake the Grizzlies. By the way, the Grizzlies and Pistons play tonight. This will be the second matchup between the teams this year. They also play on Friday night. That will be, bizarrely, the third matchup between the Grizzlies and Pistons this year. This will be the first time, of course, ever the Grizzlies have played the Pistons 3 times in a season. You only play Eastern Conference teams twice, but because of the in-season tournament where the Grizzlies and Pistons both went winless and had 2 of the worst point differentials, they were matched up in the final week of the in-season tournament where they had to place everybody. They had to give everybody 2 games. So Grizzlies and Pistons, weirdly, are going to play 3 times this season. By the way, speaking of Xavier Simpson, he recorded 4 assists in that fourth quarter of garbage time. While playing in the G League this year for the Pistons G League team, he was second in the G League in assists per game. He averaged over 8 assists per game in the G League. Also, if you don't know Xavier Simpson, he has a hook shot. He's a guard who uses a sky hook. So very delightful, very fun guy. Another fun fact about Xavier Simpson, the last game he played before this one, he posted a plus-minus of -51. He played on the Thunder 2 years ago when they were very, very bad. Final things from this game, I guess I can tell you that Jake LaRavia started. He had 10 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. I mean, basically the only good thing that happened in the first quarter was Jake LaRavia forcing a turnover and then getting a layup out of it. Scottie Pippen Jr. had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. Pereira had 7 points, 8 rebounds. He had 4 offensive rebounds. He got 3 blocks and 2 steals. So, he at least injected some energy. You could tell when he got on the court that everyone else was sleepwalking, but not Majinha. He was playing hard, so I appreciated his hustle in this game. And another rough performance from Lamar Stevens. I don't know if your Lamar Stevens excitement has worn off. He only had 7 points. It took him 10 field goal attempts to get there. Also felt like he settled for a lot of three-pointers. Now, going forward, the final, 8 games of the year for the Grizzlies. They play the Pistons on Monday night, like I said. Then they have a road game against the Bucks on Wednesday. They return home for that third game against the Pistons. They play Friday, Saturday night. The Saturday night, of course, is the Marc Gasol retirement ceremony. They play the Philadelphia 76ers. It sounds like Joel Embiid is going to suit up and play for the Sixers starting this week. So I guess Embiid is going to play in that game. Hopefully the ghost of Marc Gasol can force Joel into having a bad game. Marc always did a very good job of guarding Joel Embiid. And then after that, there's only a few games left, and I think we're all keeping our eyes still on the reverse standings as the Grizzlies maybe focus a bit on their lottery odds. Right now, they still trail the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors have lost 13 consecutive games. So the Grizzlies still have one more win than the Raptors. I don't know if you're going to be able to catch the Raptors. I mean, you certainly could. The Grizzlies might not win that many more games. Like they might, let's say they lose out. Like, can the Raptors win one game? The Raptors play the Lakers, the Timberwolves, the Bucks, the Wizards. I assume we're circling that Wizards game. Maybe the Raptors could win that one. Then they play the Pacers, the Nets, and then the Heat twice in a row to finish the year. They can certainly win one of those games. Who knows what players are going to suit up for any of those teams. But right now the Raptors have a lead in the reverse standings. And of course, if the teams are tied for the worst record or they have the same record, the NBA does not give them equal lottery odds. They actually do a tiebreaker drawing. So one team will have the 6th worst record. It'll be in the 6th spot for the lottery odds. One team will be in the 7th spot. I have no idea why they do that. It seems like they would just give them the same lottery odds, but for whatever reason, they've chosen to draw lots and break all those ties before they go into the lottery. As far as falling any further down the lottery standings, impossible. Rest your weary heads. Right now, the Grizzlies have 5 fewer wins than both the Jazz and the Nets. So you're not going to win too many games, I think, over your final 8. Like, you can go 5-3 over your final 8, and as long as the Nets or Jazz win one game, you're going to be safe. So worst case, air quotes, worst case scenario, the Grizzlies finish the year with those 7th best lottery odds. And with that, I think we can get out of here. No reason to stay any longer. I'm pretty sure the Grizzlies wanted to get out of Orlando as fast as possible, so we can get out of this episode as fast as humanly possible. Anyways, if you want to support the program, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. I just posted a bonus episode answering some listener questions on Sunday. So if you want some extra content from me, you can get it at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. You can also join the Slack channel. You can join the Grits and Grinds Slack channel to talk about whatever you want related to the Memphis Grizzlies with me and with other Grizzlies fans. All right. Hope you guys have a great Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.